Okay, the first directions say to factor, and the first thing you look for when you're factoring is what comes out of every single term. We have 3 terms, a 2 comes out of all 3 of the numbers, and an x squared comes out. So I'm going to factor 2x squared out, and you're left with x squared minus 13x plus 42. Okay, and all we're having to do is factor. So 2x squared is part of your answer. So I'm going to leave it right here. And we're going to have something else that goes right there. So we're looking for factors of 42. And it's 1 and 42, 2 and 21, 3 and 14, 4 doesn't go, 5 doesn't go, 6 and 7. And this tells us that we're adding. So we have to find one that adds to be 13. And these 2 add to be 13. Okay, when you're adding, they're both going to have the same sign, and they're going to take on this sign. So they're both going to be negative. And because your lead coefficient is 1, once you find your factors, it's factored. So it's x minus 6 times x minus 7. And that's your answer. Okay, on this next one, remember you're multiplying 5 times 45. And you'd get 225. Nothing factors out except for an x here. So you're going to take an x out, and you have 5x squared minus 16x minus 45. So when we find factors of 225, which is a huge number, but we're looking for when they subtract to be 16, even though this is a big number, there's really not that many numbers that go into it. So we have 1 and 225, 2 doesn't go, 3 goes 75 times, 4 doesn't go, but we know 5 and 45 because that's what we multiplied together. 6 doesn't go, 7 doesn't go, 9 goes, 9 and 25. And then we know 15 and 15 is a perfect square. But we're looking for which one subtracts to give you 16. 25 minus 9 subtracts to give you 16. 25 is bigger, so it takes the first sign, this one right here. And if you subtract, they have opposite signs. So I'm going to mark the x down here and then mark it out. And we're going to factor by grouping. So that's 5x squared plus 9x minus 25x minus 45. We're going to group the first 2 and the last 2. The only thing that factors out of the first one is an x, and you're left with 5x plus 9. We know this has to be 5x plus 9. When you factor by grouping, what's inside the parentheses is the same in both of them. So what we factored out of the second set of parentheses is a negative 5. So what's there twice is 5x plus 9. Mark it out because we've used it. What's left over is x minus 5. Except that should be a 5. Okay, to factor these perfect cubes, we have to know the formula, and this is the same thing as x to the third minus 4 to the third. Okay, the formula is a to the third minus b to the third equals a minus b times a squared plus b, plus ab plus b squared. Okay, so we go back to up here. A is x and b is 4. So So I'm just going to rewrite this. And everywhere there's an A, I'm putting X. And everywhere there's a B, you put 4. 4 squared is 16. And that's your answer. You're just literally taking the formula and changing things out. Okay, so on this one, the first thing you do is factor out, and you have a 2x squared that comes out. So you're left with x to the third minus 8. Okay, so that is the same thing as x to the third minus 2 to the third. So that tells you A is x, oops, that's a minus, and B is 2. Do you see that? Okay, so we're going to use the exact same formula, but I'm writing the 2x squared down here where I know my answer is going to be. Okay, so the formula, again, is a to the third minus b to the third equals a minus b, a squared plus ab plus b squared. Okay, so a is x and b is 2, so this is going to be x minus 2 times x squared plus 2x plus 2 squared is 4. So I'm just going to fill in the blanks. And that's your answer.